Whether you're here in the United States or Canada, Mexico, Colombia, Australia, or any other country, we welcome you. So thank you for being with us this evening. I would like to introduce our hosts for tonight. If you've been with us before, you know them. We got Andre Gordon from the United States in Florida, and then Krista Rialba in Canada. They've been amazing hosts and have done such a good job in introducing Dr. Sinnott and then also helping us close the call and taking some of the questions that you've been asking. So with that, let's turn it over to Andre and Krista to get it started.
Hey guys, hi USANA family. So happy to be here once again. And I can't believe it's the last time. We have to do this again, Dre. This has been so incredible. I've learned so much. And I'm so happy that we're circling back to this topic of the immune system, because I think for me, at least where we are, there's been, even more of a heightened talk about wearing masks, and that's all coming back into conversation. And I think all those precautions, I'm sure Dr. Sinnott will agree, are really important. But tonight we want to go deeper. We want you to feel empowered in your health, to know that there's a lot that you can do to be in the driver's seat for your immunity and your family's immunity. So that's what tonight is all about. I'm going to pass it back over to Dre so he can introduce Dr. Rob Sinnott.
Krista, C. Flashy, I like to call you. I'm really happy to be here with you and Dr. Rob. I think we all can agree that immune support is a hot topic. But what's cool is, it's like we've been preparing for this our whole life, our whole USANA careers. We've been living in immune support, but I'm excited for Dr. Rob to share it. And for those of you who are first-time guests, I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of insight by me going over a brief bio of Dr. Rob, because I think it's important to know where we're getting information from. I think right now we see so much info on Facebook. Like everyone's an MD, a Facebook MD. I have my Instagram MD. We're talking to a real doctor here. Let me just tell you what we're dealing with, guys. Dr. Rob Sinnott has over 25 years of experience in leadership and life sciences, chemistry, biotechnology, nutrition. Dr. Rob Sinnott has had numerous scientific and leadership roles in the supplement industry. He holds degrees in biological science, the supplement industry, natural science, a doctoral degree in plant sciences from Arizona State. He had a focus on biological sciences and biotechnology and plant medicinal chemistry. All these things I can barely even say. He studied them. Postgraduate work at Harvard Business School, Wharton, University of Chicago, London Business, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, Hong Kong University. The list goes on and on. Brookings. The reason why I wanted to just list all of these boom places is because when you've really spent your life dedicated to educating yourself, you can feel as though you're getting information from a grounded, sound, researched place, and that is Dr. Rob Sinnott. So thank you for being here again for another week, for our last week. Thank you for dedicating your life to education and for sharing everything that you've learned from all these different places with the entire USANA family and all these guests here today. Almost 1,000 people in 2 minutes.
Wow, fantastic. Well, Andre, it's been great spending the summer with you, and Krista, you too. And TJ, thank you for arranging this whole thing and making sure it goes off well. So anyway, it's been an interesting summer. I mean, it's kind of weird. I live up here in the mountains of Park City, and the weather up here is just crazy. So today was actually kind of rainy and cold. So I'm wearing a sweater in the middle of July. I grew up in Arizona. We never wore sweaters like even in the middle of winter. So here wearing it in the middle of July, but it just shows that in the world, there's just all these immune challenges. There's all these things that you never really know what the weather's going to be. You never really know what's going to happen in people's lives. And so you have to be prepared for anything. And so basically, what I want to share with you today is some of the best tips that I've learned in immunology and immunity and just overall health. Immune system health is one of the facets of health. Obviously, it's a very important organ system in your body because we rely on it every day. We're under attack all the time. You see this beautiful picture in my background. This is my backyard. Last night, as I was watering the plants and right at sunset, I was like, wow, I'm just so blessed. So I had to take a picture and put that up as my Zoom photo for tonight. But if you think about it, you look out there, I live in the mountains where there's wild animals and so there's all sorts of viruses out there. There's all sorts of ticks that have, tick fever and things like that. There's pollen that's constantly coming up from these plants, that puts an attack on your immune system. So we're under attack all the time, even the oxygen that we live in. Because on planet Earth, where we all live, hopefully, I don't know, maybe we're off on other planets right now. On this call because we've got so many people on the line, but even living in the oxygen environment, it's 20% oxygen, and people think, well, oxygen's a good thing. You'd want that, but actually, oxygen is very damaging to DNA. It's very damaging to protein, and your body is in a constant battle against the environment. So things like oxygen, ultraviolet light. All the other things, the pathogens I mentioned. So nutrition is very important. And I'll put that in perspective for you because I think it's something that a lot of people, they know about intuitively, but I want to put some meat around that and talk to you a little bit about, and also this is the cool thing, is since I gave this talk 4 weeks ago, there's actually been some cool papers published on the area of nutrition and immunity. So I've actually incorporated some new data into this talk. So if people were on the first call and they're thinking, this is going to be a repeat, not exactly, because the science is always changing. And that's the really cool thing about science and nutritional science. This week, as a matter of fact, there were 2 major papers that hit the press. One of them is the one I'll be talking to you about. And another one is a paper that was just published in the American Society for Nutrition. And it's a lot of prominent scientists. This was actually picked up by the main media. So I actually saw this on CNN first and then went to the journal. But they're saying that strengthening nutritional research is required for national security. So if you I'll cite this paper in some other later talk, but it just came out and it's a very extensive paper. So I'm still reading it and analyzing it and everything like that. But I'm telling you, the science is changing, particularly in the situation that we're at right now in the world, is there's a lot of new research. There's a lot of new science going on. So without further ado, I'd love to share with you the presentation. Well, that's me. And that's when I used to be at the office, and right back here behind these ladies, that's my office right there. Used to be Dr. Wentz's office before me, which it's a great office, nice view and everything like that. But honestly, I don't really miss it that much because I feel like I'm actually more productive being able to, not have to spend hours driving down to the valley and back and stuff like that, but being able to lead the team from here. And with things like Zoom and WebEx and all that stuff and all the journals being online, we haven't missed a beat at USANA. So let's start with the founder's vision. This is Dr. Wentz's vision, is that when you meet the genuine needs of your customers, growth and prosperity will follow. Okay, he turned out to be a great businessman, but he was a scientist first. And this is something that every marketing class that I've ever taken, every research and development class, Andre went through the list of, I sought out the best. So I took research and development class at the best universities around the world on purpose. Okay, 2 reasons. One, I always want to be relevant. I want to be on top of what's the latest thinking in research and development. But then also my father had a huge influence on that. And he was not a wealthy man. My grandfather before him was a coal miner. My father was the first blue-collar working guy or white-collar working guy in our family. And he invested heavily in education, and he always cited Benjamin Franklin for that. And Benjamin Franklin founded the University of Pennsylvania. I went there. I went to the Wharton School at University of Penn. And his saying, one of his famous sayings was, empty your purse into your head, and that way nobody can take it from you. And so basically what he's saying is invest in education, because you'll have it and it will be. So I'll tell you, actually, Andre, I had never done this before, but after I was going through that list, I added up, I've spent over half $500,000 on education in my lifetime, $500,000 in cash. And you would think for some people that'd be a crazy investment, but I've gotten that many, many, many times over by being able to contribute to the world and everything that's come from that. And a lot of that is Dr. Wentz's vision. Exactly that is, if you can meet genuine health needs that are out there, and there's an abundance of them right now, good business is going to come your way. And that's what USANA is based on. And I love it. And that's why I have to repeat it. These are my heroes. These are the USANA healthcare heroes. So these are this is not all of them. I've got 86 people in the R&D staff, but this is probably half the scientists that we pulled together early one morning before we all started. It's hard to pull everybody together at the corporate office, but we did that for this photo. So this shows the current team. No other company in the industry has anything like this team. Okay, so I know all the players in the industry. I know all the CSOs. I know all the CEOs. I'm not going to name names or anything like that, but nobody's got an R&D team like this. And that's the way Dr. Wentz set it up, and that's the way it's going to continue for the future. And I have to thank these heroes for showing up every day. Nobody's taken any time off. We work differently now, but I'll tell you, our productivity is better than it ever has been. It was really good, and now it's even better. So I'm really excited for the future. We're not worried about the future. We're excited because we're going to take a lead. We're already taking the lead, but you're going to see in the future, USANA is going to jump ahead of everyone. So, like I said, we still meet at the office occasionally. We do social distancing. We wear masks. We always have. I've been one of the early believers in, just out of courtesy. I'm not worried about myself so much as I worry about other people. So, when Dr. Oz came to visit us from New York, he was wearing them. Everybody was wearing masks. We had great conversations. It's not that hard of a thing to do. So I would just recommend everybody out there, please don't be obstinate. Wear a mask. It's a simple thing that you can do that protects your friends, and you want to protect your friends. Okay, so let's talk about the immune system. There's really 3 layers to the human immune system. You've got surface immunity, which is your skin, stomach acids, things like that, which are physical and chemical barriers. So like pollen, when it goes into your nose, you've got nose hair in there. You wonder what that crazy stuff is for. But a lot of the particles that go in your nose get caught on there on purpose. That's the reason why it's there, and it's a physical barrier to protect the pollen and things from going in your nose. There's other lines of defense in case something does make it through all those physical barriers. You've got what's called innate and adaptive immunity, and so these are things like that are either non-specific, which are like for broad spectrum pathogens, things that you encounter all the time, but it's hard for your body to be specific about it. And then you've also got what's called adaptive immunity, which is specific immunity, like producing antibodies to a specific virus or, to a vaccine, or, if you've been inoculated for salmonella, you would develop antibodies specifically against salmonella. So things like that. So we've got multiple layers of protection in our body, which is a great thing. It keeps us healthy most of the time. But there's always new things that come along. So how do you support your immune system? Well, there's a lot of common sense things. So let's start with those first. Making sure you get enough sleep at night. That's actually been a big problem. They found these healthcare workers, that are under constant stress weren't getting, they weren't getting sleep. Obviously, they're troubled, and there's a lot of bad things going on. But it's so important because that's one of the major things that contributes to functioning immune system. Exercise regularly. You don't have to be an Olympic athlete. There's a lot of Olympic athletes that use USANA, but you don't have to be an Olympic athlete to be healthy. You just can't be a sedentary person. You can't just sit around all day and, get in 200 steps or less than 1,000 steps. You've got to make sure you're getting some sort of activity, moderate activity, at least 5 times a week. So at least 60 minutes, 5 times a week. Minimize stress. Okay, good luck with this one. This one is, meditation and learning meditation, I'm still wanting to do that. But minimizing stress, I'm not going to preach too much on that because I'm not good at that. So I just learned how to deal with it in hopefully a productive way. Eat healthy, balanced diet. I mean, that's common sense. Don't be running out for fast food every single night. It's not a healthy thing. There's way too much sodium, too much fat. It's not good for your immune system. It's not good for anything in your body. Once in a while, if you want to treat yourself, I'm not going to preach at you about that, but you just got to keep that in real moderation. And when I say moderation, I mean like once a week or less, not every single day. Practice good hygiene. We're all getting really good at that right now. Okay, I've seen a lot of people that didn't used to wash their hands and now they wash them 20 times a day. Fantastic. That's a big improvement for human civilization right there. And then supplementation to avoid deficiencies, okay? And we've been saying this forever, and the literature's out there. The nutritional literature shows that there are certain vitamins and minerals that are required for optimum immune system function. I'm not making this up. It's not like I wrote all that science. It's been out there building for decades. So this is common sense science. But here's something that is new. So what I would recommend to you, take a screenshot of this. And there's a paper down at the bottom that we're citing, the Calder paper, that was just published a few months ago in the journal Nutrients. And Nutrients is a top tier nutritional journal. It's peer reviewed. So it's not something that, if you publish in Nutrients, it's a good quality scientific paper. And this is actually from a team that is composed of both scientists from the United States, from Europe, and from other countries. And so this is something that is an international paper. Dr. Tim Wood, who a lot of you may know if you've been with USANA for a long time, he was the head of R&D for a number of years. He's now on our board of directors. And actually, we were talking to each other this week about the board meetings, and he sent me this paper, and I was just blown away because I've been looking for this paper for a long time. This is a good review paper that talks all about how nutrition plays a role in the immune system. So we're only going to touch on just briefly a little bit, but if you're at all inclined, this journal is online, so you can access it and you can read the whole thing. And it's actually really interesting. It's not that long. It's only about 8 pages. But it's really very, very, very interesting. I think that people are interested in nutrition and wellness, you would be very interested by this paper, very revealing. So what they're saying is that nutrition plays an important role. We all knew that. And then they're talking about the key nutrients. A lot of these we knew, like vitamin A, C, D, E. We knew pretty well. The B vitamins weren't as well identified a few years ago. So B6, B12, and folate, which are the B vitamins, are playing a huge role in immune system support. The trace elements, and there's a lot of them that play roles in your body, but zinc, iron, selenium, magnesium, and copper in particular have specific roles in immune system function. And so you definitely don't want to be deficient in those particular minerals. And then also, this is fairly new that they brought in, was the omega-3 fatty acids. So EPA and DHA actually have a pretty significant role in immune system function. And so I just want to bring this up. Like I said, this is very early. I just got this paper just a few days ago, but I couldn't help but share because when I read it, I was just kind of blown away, and I want to share it with as many people as I can. But their conclusions were that basically supplementing with micronutrients, omega-3s, safe, effective, and low-cost strategy to help support the optimal immune system function. Okay, which we suspected that. The data has been inclining that way. But this paper, like I said, peer-reviewed journal, just published recently in light of a lot of new information, makes this conclusion. They say that nutrients such as C and D may warrant supplementation above the RDA. So the RDA is going to vary from country to country because A lot of countries are still using old science when they're doing the recommended daily allowance. But what they're saying is that actually larger doses of C and D may warrant supplementation, and that, you know, those are some of our best-selling products are in that category. And nutritional strategies should be included in recommendations to improve public health. So what they're recommending is that, you know, for crying out loud, you know, this is a cost-effective, effective strategy. You know, doctors should be talking more about this with their patients. And I'm seeing it. You know, I'm seeing the change. I've seen the change over 20 years. You know, the old doctors that were trained in the, you know, 1960s, 1970s, that had no nutritional background whatsoever. Matter of fact, it was all considered quackery. A lot of those guys are retiring and they're, you know, passing away. And the younger generation have some training in it, but at least they're open-minded. In a lot of cases, they're open-minded about it. And so what they're saying, and this is the same thing that came out in that article that I said from the American Society of Nutrition, where they're saying we need to talk about this because this is becoming like a national crisis issue. So anyway, we're in a good place at a good time because people are finally starting to wake up to this. Okay, so we've got some great solutions for this. We've got some, you know, USANA has been known for the multivitamin, multimineral, all the great products that Dr. Wentz has produced over the years, and the team at USANA. Intelligence is the latest version. So the Intelligence and the Cell Essentials. So basically it was the Essentials for a couple of decades. They were called the Essentials, and they kept improving. They had upgrades of the Essentials, so there would be different versions. Every time there was new nutritional science, they'd change and they'd upgrade. And then finally, we just had this huge breakthrough, and I'll explain it a little bit later, that we had to rename it from the Essentials to Cell Essentials because it's just so different. So it's everything that the Essentials was plus cell signaling compounds, which it's all about biohacking, and I'll talk about that in a few minutes. Okay, so one of the first things that you want to look at from Cell Essentials is the vitamins that you get. You know, so the vitamin A, vitamin C, D, the B vitamins, all these things that we saw in that paper that was just published a couple months ago. The essential minerals, selenium, zinc. You know, read the label on it. There's so much stuff in Cell Essentials, and you know, I mean, it's got this huge label that's hard to fit all the data onto it because there's so much in there. And the testing that we take these products through, you know, finding the bioavailable source of these minerals and then testing them all the time is just really amazing. This is really the premium vitamin in the world. So, like, if you're looking for the best, and there's always people that are looking for the best, this is the best of the best. You can't put anything better in your body, and this is why all the Olympic athletes use it. So these products, the core minerals and the Vita Antioxidant, the Cell Essentials, you know, I'm not going to go into all the detail on that. I'll go into a little bit more later. But basically, the whole point of these is these are the foundation of nutrition. So these fill the nutritional gaps for your entire body. So you don't know, like unless you're, you know, an expert or trained in this, it's hard to sit down and analyze your diet and understand what you could possibly be deficient in, or, you know, whatever. But with the Cell Essentials, you know, it covers all the gaps. So if you're vegetarian, you know, and vegetarians tend to be deficient in things like zinc and vitamin B12. Okay, well, you know, that's something that's in abundance in here. So whatever your lifestyle, and vegetarians actually a very healthy lifestyle choice, but there's a lot worse lifestyle choices that people can make. But what I'm saying here is this is a very inexpensive, affordable insurance policy for filling in those gaps in your nutrition for both micronutrients, macronutrients, antioxidants, and now cell signaling compounds. Okay, another great product that's on the market is proflavanol. I'm just going to go through these really quick. This was one of the first immune support products that was actually brought to market years ago, based on vitamin C, and then also anthocyanidins from grapeseed extract. And, you know, it's been proved that, you know, improves your antioxidant status, which is related to immune system function. And it also increases the vascular function, which is very important because your circulation, basically your immune cells circulate through your blood system and your lymphatic system. And so, if those things are operating properly, that's why exercise is important. You got to keep those things circulating. So people that are sedentary, this stuff gets stagnant and it doesn't operate properly. Humans aren't meant to be sedentary. Like back in the Stone Age, if a human was sedentary, they would die because nobody's going to go out and feed them. They're just sitting around and nobody's going to bring them back food. You got to earn your food. And so luckily we're in a different kind of society now. It's not as brutal, but at the same time, you can't just sit around all day and expect that your systems are all going to operate properly. So that's why USANA produces products, is to really help people bridge that gap. Poly C, another vitamin C, high-level vitamin C product that has the proprietary Poly C blend. And Poly C is a blend of ascorbates. So vitamin C is ascorbic acid, and then there are all sorts of ascorbate salts based on the different minerals like potassium ascorbate, magnesium, zinc ascorbate, just so many different kinds. And the right blend of ascorbates actually makes the product last in your blood system longer. If you just take ascorbic acid vitamin C powder by itself, and they sell it at health food stores and stuff, if you mix it in and drink it, you're going to have this huge spike of vitamin C in your blood, but then it's going to immediately drop down. And actually, high levels of vitamin C by itself are actually quite toxic because it becomes a pro-oxidant rather than an antioxidant at very high doses. So anyway, so it's very interesting. Don't worry about that. We worked out all the chemistry of this stuff. So just, don't be your own chemist and mix stuff up in the kitchen, for God's sake. You don't want to have to go through the 30-year learning curve we went through. So just trust USANA products. Everybody does. So leave it to the professionals. Vitamin D. This is another thing that's hitting you see it in the news all the time. Matter of fact, I had a friend of mine who's a physician. He runs a practice in both here in Park City and then also back in Alexandria, Virginia. And he was saying, have you seen the news on vitamin D recently? And I'm like, yeah, I've seen it, but is that a surprise to you? Because we've known this this has been known for decades. It's been building for decades that vitamin D is a critical thing. Matter of fact, they've linked, places that have very low light exposure with increase in immune system disorders. They've known that for decades. They've been studying it, and it seems like vitamin D is a common factor on that. So this is something that's well studied. We produce a vitamin D supplement that's fantastic, ultra pure. And so if people are in a situation where they think they need more vitamin D, this is a great product for them to take. Our probiotic products are just fantastic. So this is a huge area of science for my research team right now. Is we're going to be, I put it out to the board of directors at the last board meeting that USANA is going to be the world leader in microbiome and immunity by the year 2030. I mean, I'm talking about anybody. I don't care if it's a drug company, pharma company, nutraceutical. We're going to be the leader because we've got a head start on this. And one of the products that's available right now is the USANA probiotic. And it would be, this is something that these are good bacteria. So there's, billions of good bacteria that you take in. And what these things do is they crowd out the bad bacteria in your GI tract, which is kind of a cool thing. But they also trigger a response in your overall immune system, which is beneficial. So probiotics are one of the best things that you can take. I eat a lot of probiotic foods. So I eat yogurt all the time, kefir, kimchi, all sorts of fermented vegetables. Just love it. I mean, the more I can find, the more I'll eat. There's a product here in the United States that's called Good Belly. I believe it's made out of Boulder, Colorado, but I think it's available nationally. But it's a probiotic drink, like a fermented juice drink, that's actually fantastic. So I have that as part of my my smoothie every morning that I have. The USANA probiotic is so convenient because it's in a little slim stick, little pack that literally you can shove in your pocket. and take it any time during the day. When I travel, I never travel without this. And I'll tell you, it's made all the difference because I've traveled for the last 20 years extensively. And it used to be just a health challenge, particularly traveling some of the countries in Asia, going to Africa, Middle East, even parts of Europe. You know, it was almost guaranteed that you're going to get sick. This is something that I carry with me all the time now, and I haven't had any issues. So I take 2 of these a day when I travel. So in the morning, first thing, you know, with water, and then in the evening with my evening meal, I'll take some more. Anyway, I'm not going to make a lot of health claims on it, but it's a great product. If you're not using it, you probably should give it a try. I already said that. Okay, another great product. This is a new one that's out there. It's called Proglucamine. Terrible name. Hate the name of the product. I wouldn't say hate, but I'm not in love with it because it just sounds like you're coughing up phlegm when you say something. But it's a great product. It is really one of the best. And we're doing a lot of clinical work on this one right now. There's already been a couple papers published on it. We're publishing a double-blind placebo-controlled study very soon on this. But this product is brilliant because it combines 2 ingredients from traditional Chinese medicine, reishi and shiitake, which you say, oh, well, that's kind of, what is that all about? But you know what? These things have been proven out. Mushrooms, just in general, because they're both mushrooms, they're both fungi. Mushrooms have been used medicinally by almost every culture in the world as an immune booster because they trigger a response in your immune system that's beneficial. So they actually help protect you. So if something's coming around, you don't know what it is, but people are getting sick and stuff, they would always, like in the Native American culture where I grew up in the Western United States, they would make these mushroom tea out of these tree mushrooms called shelf fungus or bracket fungus. They'd make a tea out of that. And if anything was going around where people were getting sick, everybody would start drinking this mushroom tea. And what it does, it primes your adaptive immunity. So it basically gets your adaptive immune system ready so that if it sees a new pathogen, it can respond very quickly by producing macrophages, by producing antibodies, things like that, an immune response. So this is something that's not magic. It's been around for a lot of years. But the one thing we blended in here is it's a proprietary beta glucan that's isolated from baker's yeast. And this is a polysaccharide that is just fantastic for eliciting a very specific heightened immune response. So this is a beautiful product. I love this one. You know, the reishi shiitake, the beta glucans from yeast, and then also zinc, which is a mineral that's specific for the immune system. There's these things called zinc finger proteins. And when your body detects a pathogen and wants to destroy it, in a lot of cases, it uses what's called these zinc finger proteins. So zinc, if your body's out of zinc, it's not going to be able to produce these, and you're probably in big trouble. So it's always good to have a little bit more zinc in your body. All right. So in China, it's called protective qi, which is QI. We're actually writing some papers on this right now. So this is really interesting. But it basically equates to what the Western civilization knows as immune response, which is, you know, a super important thing. So anyway, so we're really excited. I love this product. You know, I travel with it all the time. I've got all my family on this right now. You know, this is kind of like me passing the mushroom tea jar around to everybody. You know, I've got them all on Proglucamine at this point. You know, just everybody's on it. I just send them bottles of it and make sure that they're all taken care of. Okay. Got a lot to cover and not much time. So anyway, so this is that paper I was talking about. This is one of them. It was published in the European Journal of Integrative Medicine, which is a peer-reviewed journal where we were talking about our 2 placebo-controlled human studies that we ran in Canada in Markham, Ontario, back in 18 and 19. And I don't have time to go into them a lot, but we're finding a profound effect for the proglucamine. So this product is not only good in theory, but we're also validating it in human clinical studies that it's really a fantastic product. So the more we get that, we're going to share that out with people. But I have a feeling this is going to become just a fantastic product for USANA. Right now, as a percentage of sales, it's not that huge because not that many people know about it or what it is or what it does. But as that word gets out, this one's going to climb the ladder and become a very successful product that people want to always have. Okay, so let's get back to Intelligence. So Intelligence, the base of any nutritional program, because it provides vitamins, minerals, antioxidants. We're really proud that this was granted a U.S. patent back in April. So April 28th of this year, we were finally issued a U.S. patent. I think it was 6 or 7 years in process, which actually that's pretty fast for a nutritional patent. And most companies, their nutritional patents are not accepted, they're denied. It's very hard to get a nutritional patent these days. But these guys who were working on this project, and this was actually before I came on board as CSO, so these guys were doing a great job laying the foundation for the future. And Intelligence is just a technology that's almost ahead of its time. I would say that because when it was rolled out, people didn't really understand. It's like, okay, well, this is very special, but we don't really understand why. And so what we're trying to do is just get that story out there, like hone this story, and really explain to people what is the value proposition behind Cell Essentials. Because if they really understand it, they would realize what a great value this product is, because it really combines like 5 different products into one product. So multivitamin, multimineral, antioxidant, cell signaling compounds, all of that stuff into one. So people think, well, that's pretty expensive, one product. Well, that's because it's 5 products that are rolled into one to make it easier for people to take in a compliant basis. So the key to Cell Essentials that makes it different than the Essentials is that we put in cell signaling compounds. And you're like, okay, well, what's cell signaling? Well, it's basically biohacking. It's figuring out what are the mechanisms in your body, the beneficial mechanisms, and then finding out, I would almost say like my kids are gamers. So they're obsessed with these cheat codes. That guy's using a cheat. I could tell he's using a cheat code. He's better than me, or whatever. But a cheat code is something where you basically unlock a secret code, sometimes legitimately, sometimes illegitimately. In this case, we're doing it very legitimately because we're using some very safe natural compounds to unlock the processes in your body. And the processes that we were specifically awarded a patent on, if we go back here, you can see that the patent says methods and compositions for supporting the endogenous systems related to lifespan. Well, that's interesting. What is that all about? We have to read the patent and figure that out. But basically, endogenous systems are the systems in your body, the renewal systems that are natural and they occur within your body all the time. But in a lot of people, they're not working optimally because they have bad nutrition or they're making bad decisions in their life. They're not exercising, they're drinking too much or smoking or doing bad things. And the systems have kind of shut down. So they're renewal processes. So the thing is, they're going to have a very short lifespan. But if you can figure out ways of biohacking and turning those systems back on, you've got almost a cheat code right there. And so that's kind of where the USANA scientists were working on when I came in the door. I'm proud to inherit that and bring that forward, and then also help explain this, because this is not an easy concept to explain to people. So unlocking code, here's the things that we use right now. So these are the current cell signaling compounds that we use that are under patent. Alpha lipoic acid, which is a very rare amino acid. It does occur in nature, but in very small amounts. Most people would get almost none in their diet, but we actually put a good amount in there. That's a very powerful cell signaling compound. Curcumin, if you eat Indian food all the time, if you eat masala and you eat salan and you eat those kind of curries and everything like that every day, you're going to be getting some curcumin in your body, but you're not going to be getting therapeutic amounts. Okay, and most Western diets don't have any curcumin in them. So what we do is we put this highly purified curcumin in there that's bioavailable to do the cell signaling process. Green tea, quercetin, rutin, and hesperidin. Okay, so rutin, hesperidin, and quercetin are all flavonoids, and they occur in fruits and vegetables. So people that are, if we lived in the Garden of Eden, right, and we are all eating off, the fresh fruit and the vegetables every day, and having a beautiful life and things like that, we probably wouldn't have to supplement with flavonoids. But I guarantee nobody's getting what they need right now to trigger the optimal processes in your body. Resveratrol is another, it's a polyphenol. It's very rare. It comes in red wine. The way they tracked this down was actually what's called the French paradox. So the French scientists noticed that people that were on this Mediterranean diet that drank quite a bit of wine, not too much, but enough, even though they were eating high-fat diet, cheese, butter, a lot of saturated fat, they still had a long lifespan, and they tracked it back to this resveratrol. So this is something that we purify from a natural source, and we are able to put it in there. So it's like, the equivalent of drinking several glasses of wine a day, but you don't have to drink several glasses of wine a day to get the resveratrol. So anyway, so these are some of the compounds. These are, I think we've got 8 that we currently use quite a bit in cell signaling. We've got more that are being developed right now, a couple dozen other cell signaling compounds. We want to make sure that they're tested for safety and efficacy, and that the products are actually clinically tested before we put them out there, just because that's who we are. We're not biohackers that are crazy. We want to do this in the right way, and we want to trigger all the good things and not trigger any bad things in your body. So just be patient with us as we get this stuff out to you. So anyway, so the way it works is by targeting and activating specific pathways in your body. So these things aren't unnatural. They're not drugs that block an enzyme or, weird pharmaceuticals that are xenobiotic compounds that your body's never seen before. These are all natural compounds that, like I said, if you're getting the ultimate, life in paradise diet, we would all probably be getting these, but we don't. So Intelligence is all about unlocking codes for personal health. Oh, this is another cool thing. I'm glad I saw that personalized health, because this is something that's really important. Okay, so Krista, Andre, you've got me on the call, and we're probably similar in a lot of ways, but we're probably different in a lot of ways too. So how would the same ingredients affect me that would benefit Krista or Andre? Well, this is the really cool thing about natural compounds, is your body takes what it wants and just like passes the rest of it through. So unlike drugs, drugs like xenobiotic compounds like synthetic steroids or antibiotics or heart medicines or things like that, they're basically, they're kind of poisons in a way, because your body's not used to seeing them. And they inhibit specific enzymes. And basically, if they affect, that's why you can give the same dose of a different drug to different people. But this is different because what we can do is like those flavonoids I was telling you about, the quercetin, the rutin, the hesperidin, things like that. If you give those to me, you give them to Krista, you give them to Andre, we're going to process them differently. We're going to throw away what we don't need, and we're going to keep what we do need. So that's the great thing, is these things have a great safety margin on them. So what we do is we put in enough that we know that it's going to trigger the code. But in Krista, since she's a vegetarian, she's probably getting a lot of this stuff already. So what's going to happen is your body's probably going to just throw away a lot of it, those particular compounds. But something like lipoic acid, which really the only source in the human diet is meat, you're probably getting none of that. And so if you weren't getting that from Cell Essentials, that'd be a triggering, a cell signaling process that probably wouldn't be working that well with you. All right, so Nourish, Protect, Renew. Nourish and Protect is, USANA has always been about this. We've had 30 years of research and development, starting with Dr. Wentz, Tim Wood, John Cuomo, the research teams. So many brilliant people have had a hand in the research and development at USANA. I'm glad to be able to inherit it at this point and bring it forward into the future. But Nourish Protect is something we've always done. Renew is all about that biohacking, which I think, just really, I find it so interesting because it's like me. I'm always looking for the next thing. I'm looking for ways of making things better. And Renew is something that hardly any company has ever tapped into. USANA's got some patented technology, but we're going to follow this long into the future. Okay, so it says 10 benefits of Cellsentials, and I think that's because people like the number 10, but there's hundreds of benefits to Cellsentials. I mean, we just don't want to go into a lot of detail. Like under energy. Okay, energy is something that people are going to notice right away. So if you've got somebody that's, got a medium diet, not a great diet, not terrible, and they're not supplementing right now, and they start onto the Cellsentials, within a couple of weeks, one of the things that they're going to notice is their energy levels increasing. So whereas they may have been tired in the afternoon, feeling a little worn out, things like that, this happens a lot. And a lot of people attribute it to age, but it's not an inevitable thing of age. But anyway, energy is something that they'll notice right away. Heart effects, there's a lot of nutrients that are beneficial for your heart. I'm not going to say like if somebody has a heart issue that this is going to improve their heart. But this is something that it's a protective, you want to complete, as Dr. Wentz said, I love his word, nutrify. You want to nutrify your body. So you want to give your body the optimal nutrition so all these systems work properly. But your skin and nails is something that you're going to notice right away because there's a lot of turnover in your skin and your nails. They tend to grow. They're part of that protective barrier of your immune system. We don't recognize that, but actually your fingernails are part of your immune system. They protect, junk from, puncturing your fingers when you touch stuff and getting into your, causing an infection. And so there's a lot of turnover because these things grow and they're constantly replacing themselves. That's something people will notice right away. But see, that's not an insignificant thing. So your nails and your hair are growing fast. People are like, well, that's cosmetic. Who cares about that? No, it's a sign of what's going on in your body deeper inside. It's something you can observe because it's on the surface of your body so you can see it, but it actually indicates processes that are very beneficial inside. Things like, protein synthesis, cell turnover, apoptosis, which is called programmed cell death. I mean, all those things, if your nails are growing good, it means those things are working properly. So anyway, so these are some of the benefits of Cellsentials. And again, this is the basis of, if people are wanting to take care of their body, preserve all their systems, have the, best operating immune system. These are things that you need to take care of. Okay, so this is me. I'm going to end on a positive slide. So this was me today donating blood because the world still needs it. I know there's risks going on and there's, but you know what? Go out and do this because we're well nutrified. We're well nutrified. We're so well nutrified that we have nutrients to share. So that's the way I saw it. So there was a blood drive for the Children's Primary Hospital. And kids need it. So, just give what you can during this time particularly. I think it's very important to do that. And so, so that's the end of my presentation right there. Thank you.
Dr. Rob, thank you so much for everything that you taught us in this time. And even ending on that note, it just goes to speak to the heart that you have, not only for a better quality of life, but for people. And it's evident in all of your work. So really do appreciate that. I also would like to donate your arms to science because I get those arms looked ripped over there. So good job. They're looking good. Well, we got some questions, Dr. Rob, for you, and I think that it's amazing that everyone's so tuned in. Again, over 1,000 people Even more, I can't really see the numbers right now, but they're thinking. And here's some of the questions came in. The first one was, people normally associate vitamin C with immune support. In your opinion, is there a vitamin that is underrated for immune support that we don't really think about?
Yeah. So yeah, that's a great question, Andre. So yeah, you're right. Vitamin C has been known for a long time, going back to Linus Pauling and his Nobel Prize that he won, showing vitamin C was like essential for immune support. So that goes back into the 1950s with his work. One that's underrated that's coming up very fast is vitamin D. And like I said, since I've been in nutrition for the last 25 years, it's not a surprise to me because I've seen the literature growing over time. So it's like watching a baby grow. I've watched it, but other people weren't paying attention to this. So now all of a sudden they look and like I said, that physician friend of mine, he's a brilliant physician, but he's like, have you seen all this new research on vitamin D? And I was like, well, what are you talking about? So that's an underrated one. But thank God, there's a lot of papers, so there's people like him that are waking up to this, and they're finding out that this stuff is not, they've been told for a long time that this is all snake oil and, you really don't need this and your body produces enough. And actually there's been a lot of nutritional experts that have been preaching that. And it turns out to be completely false. Because if you look at the data, most people are over half the people in the United States are deficient in vitamin D. And in other countries, it's even worse. If you're in a northern climate, in Canada, when I was up there, I know vitamin D deficiency is a big thing in some of the northern climates. So anyway, so that's one that I would say is underrated. So that's the short answer.
Okay, no, that's great. Here's another really interesting question that I liked. We talked about, you thought the skin and nails being indicator. The question is, are digestive challenges an indicator of immune dysfunction?
Yeah, you know what? They could be. They could be. There's so many things that can cause digestive issues. It could be anything. It could be a nutritional thing. It could be diet. It could be the time of day that you're eating. It could be lack of exercise. There's so many things that can contribute it. Like my grandmother back in the day, brilliant lady, wasn't formally educated and stuff, but she said everything traces back to your stomach. So basically, we'd be like, oh, Graham, my arm's hurting. Oh, it's your stomach. It's your stomach. And she was actually, and she would prescribe something or she would say something that would change our diet. And then all of a sudden your arm pain went away. So I don't know, but it's really interesting that, I think the two are related. I think the two are, well, I know for certain that the immune function and your digestive health and probiotics and things like that are definitely related to each other. But there's digestive issues are so prevalent. And it could be so many things in our diet. It could be the preservatives that you're eating. Who knows what it could be.
Well, I was definitely inspired to take more probiotics. So thank you for that. Yeah. Krista, I know a couple questions came into you. You want to fire those away?
Yeah, actually, my kids love probiotics too. And that's really what the next question is about. So, to all the moms and dads with little ones, maybe school-age children who are here, we don't really know exactly what school looks like in September, but we do know this new reality that our kids are navigating, wearing masks and doing the hand sanitizer and all these things. So what can we do to help, again, best empower our children with their immune system, from supplementation to dietary? Any tips there specifically for children? We do have quite a few children's products, and that's something that, so that data that I showed you, those papers I shared with you, and this one I'll be sharing with you shortly in the future. Part of the problem, a big part of the problem facing our countries right now is our children are way more unhealthy than we are, and you can see it, I remember when my kids were growing up, I'd never really been to like a public
pool or to an aquatic center. Since I was a kid, I never really went to one, and I took my kids there. And I'm looking around and I'm thinking, wow, these are heavy kids. And it's not just like one of them is heavy. It's like everybody's heavy. Everybody looks pretty unhealthy. I don't remember that when I was a kid. I don't remember, because I remember we didn't hardly have that much food to feed the whole family, much less to overeat. So anyway, so what I would recommend for kids, this is something that I think is really important, is controlling their calorie intake. Mm-hmm. Kids naturally are going to eat as much as they possibly can. They just are, and it tastes really good. The chips taste really good, and the burger tastes really good. And if one burger tastes good, 3 of them taste even better, that kind of thing. You've got to keep these guys on a leash and keep them under control. And then also, like we said with that essential slide, make sure they're covering those nutritional gaps. Because even if they're getting, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 calories a day, if they're making the food choices that most kids make, they're still not getting adequate nutrition. So they're taking in 5,000 calories and probably no vitamin A, probably no vitamin C, because they don't eat vegetables. So there's a lot of deficiencies. So it's this huge problem because they've got this huge calorie intake and a huge nutritional gap. So supplementation with things like, the essentials, if they can take it, or the, Krista helped me with this one. What's that? What's the chewable one?
USANA.
Oh, these
USANA. My gosh. My kids don't take them anymore, so I forgot there's so many products. But yeah, the USANA. Yeah.
They're always right here because the kids are always in the office.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah.
They've been taking them since they could chew, so they're all about it.
You've got to show us your kids sometime. I'd love to see them.
Oh, for sure. We're actually getting ready for an epic road trip. So we're going to take extra USANA and make sure we're super healthy on the road. All right. So our kids are empowered with their immune system. We're doing what we can as parents. That feels good. All right. So the next question is really regarding, this is actually, I was just at the drugstore picking up a few things. And there was on all the side aisles, I won't say the names of the products, but there was the powder version of vitamin C, not booster C, but another kind. Yeah. And there was a lot of reactive products, we'll call them. If you get sick, take this.
Yeah.
Now, what can people do if they are not maybe taking these preventative approaches? Maybe they let their sleep slide or whatever happened, but they do catch a bug, a flu. What do you recommend when they get sick?
Yeah, well, you know what? It's inevitable. I mean, we're humans. We're encountering things all the time. People are going to get sick. I won't lie to you. I catch things every now and then. It's not that. But the thing is, you've got to make sure that your body is in optimal condition to fight. And so, like I said, the exercise, making sure you don't have to be an Olympic athlete, but you can't be sedentary. You've got to have some exercise. You've got to have your circulation going. The sleep is super important. See, this is another thing with our kids is, the kids have so much to distract them at nighttime. A lot of them stay up until 2, 3 in the morning, and they don't get anywhere near 8 hours of sleep. So we need to, as parents, we need to police that, and make sure that they are. And then the nutritional gaps, just make sure those nutritional gaps. I mean, what else can you do? Also the pro-glucamine. I love that product. And that's appropriate. I believe it depends on the country you're in, how it's labeled. But in the United States, it's labeled for kids 12 and above. And so I've got my whole family, anybody that's, 12 and above is using that product. So look, things are going to happen. The world we live in is inherently unsafe. There's always challenges. Your best thing is to be on guard. Whatever you can do to be on guard. Those medicines that they sell, once you get a cold to relieve the sniffles and things like that, the symptoms. Yeah, you know what? There's a place for that. But ideally, you shouldn't be having to use those very often.
Absolutely. There's loads of questions that are coming in. I just want to share with everyone who's asking questions definitely leverage Ask the Scientists. This resource has been incredible for me to when I'm looking for more specific answers. So definitely check that out, askthescientist.com. All right, Dre, how do you want to close?
You told me that last week, Krista. I asked Krista a question, and Krista is my upline, and she's like, he's Ask the Scientist. So it definitely works. Dr. Rob, these last several weeks have really been a blessing to us. We've been able to learn from you. We've been able to learn about you. And one of the things that I can say on behalf of, I know Krista and myself and the rest of the USANA field and family, is that you have displayed and shown us that you have such a great heart and such a great passion for knowledge. And you're such a real guy. And to be able to connect with you and communicate and learn from you, I can say has been a really great pleasure for all of us. We want to thank you for your time. We know you're very busy.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been an interesting summer. It's been a very busy summer. And I really appreciate that. We thought this was going to be like 1 or 2 meetings or something like that. We've been together now for 5 weeks. I'm going to miss this next week. But you know what? We'll pick this up again sometime down the road because, there's a lot other topics that we can talk about. And I'd be happy to do that. So love you guys. I appreciate you. Take care.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Rob.
All right.
Thank you, Dr. Rob.